Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome to OMTimes, Joy of Business. You're with your host, Simone Milasas, and I am in the lovely Copenhagen, Denmark. It's hot, it's sunny. There's people out in their verandas in their underwear, which I always think is hysterical because I come from Australia and Queensland where it's very, very, very hot. And it seems to be when you're in these Scandinavian countries or in parts of Europe that as soon as it's hot, they're outside with their underwear. It's like, let's get out in the sun. So, okay, we don't mind it, though, do we, Chris?
We don't mind at all.
So I have my wonderful friend here, Mr. Christopher Hughes. Welcome, Christopher.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Now, I'm very excited about today's topic, and some people will hate it, and some people will think that they can never change it. Some people will think that this is all about everybody else having some freedom and setting themselves free, and they can't get free. But that is incorrect. And it's like, I have a new book coming out soon, hopefully. It sort of relies on me doing the final proof as well. And it's called Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. Eek. It's like, well, I was $187,000 in debt when I met Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. My PR agent said it's just good copy, which I think maybe she's correct, because I always created. Even when I was in debt, I always had money show up. I just pretty much spent too much. But what I did was I started to use the tools of Access Consciousness. And using those tools, the money tools, I changed my relationship with money. I changed my point of view around money. And there are definitely a few tools that were the ones that really hit home hard for me and changed the energy and had me starting to make money and create money more so and educating myself about money, etc. Now, it's all going to come out in the book. I will tell you also, Money Isn't the Problem You Are is a book that Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane Heer wrote, and every single tool in that book are the tools that got me out of debt. Of course, the biggest thing is choice. I actually chose to change that life and commit to a life where I actually had money. Big difference. So the thing I want to start with today, Christopher,
yes,
is what I'm going to do is I'm going to interview a series of people that I can put in the back of my book. So with your consent, that's what we're heading towards here, to get some of this transcribed and actually have it in the back of the book, because I have a whole lot of people around me, wonderful, amazing people I know, that did not always have the situation that they have with money as they do now. So I want you guys to get that people have been in a situation where they struggled with money, they had limited points of view about money, and they changed it, because you can literally change anything. So I guess my first question to you, Christopher, is if you look at the energy of when you were in debt, when you didn't have money, etc., can you explain to us a little bit about what your life was like? And I guess, where were you functioning from? What were some of your key points of view?
Okay, so that's a big question. Where I was functioning from and my key points of view around money at the time were that it was too hard, or I didn't have the opportunities that other people have, or there just wasn't enough out there that I could make it work.
Not enough money.
Not enough money, not enough people that could help me with what I wanted to do, or that were interested enough in my products or services that I was offering, or, X, Y, and Z reason.
Huh. So would that be sort of closely linked to more the place of, I guess, you were not willing to see the value of you, or the value of money? What else?
Yeah, well, yes and no. It was the value of me, but also I made my situation the reason why I didn't have the money that I required. And sometimes it was unreal how little I would have. Not only was there debt, but it would be like, wow, the gas tank is so close to empty and I've got 50 cents. I'll slow down with my driving because I want to burn less fuel so I can just make sure I can get home.
Turn the air conditioner off in the car.
Exactly. There was lots of that. I mean, I've heard you talk in the past about having 1,000 recipes for 2-minute noodles.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It's like, what can I do with a tin of tuna to make it interesting tonight if I could afford tuna? But it was all about projecting the reasons on my situation. It was like, it's so funny because in my life I've never really done that with anything before. I had probably more a tendency to make myself wrong for something, but for some reason with money, I always said it was about the scenario that I was in, the situation that I was in, the circumstances surrounding me. That was my particular lens that I was looking through at the time.
So it wasn't your fault, it was everybody else's fault that you had no money, that sort of thing, or just like how you were brought up? Oh my God, the tragic story of Christopher Hughes, Saskatchewan, Canada, birthright, poverty stricken.
Absolutely. But I realized as well, through going through Access Consciousness classes and sort of having a long, hard look at the scenario, because I had to get really fed up, really frustrated, and really annoyed with not having money to go, wait a minute, why am I choosing this? And why am I blaming it on the scenario and the situation? And it wasn't until I realized, oh, that was actually the way my mom lived, who raised me. And she had all the reasons in the world to blame it on, too. She got married when she was 16 because she was pregnant and ended up, she was 25 years of age and had 3 kids, the oldest of which was like 9. Wow. And had no high school education, had no any other education. And my father was quite a violent man. And I remember her picking me up from my last day of kindergarten, and we drove to another city to hide from him because he was so violent. And she worked at 7-Eleven and in convenience stores through the day and put herself through high school at night so that she could slowly build up and build up and build up. But she did have a lot of points of view that I realized I was raised around the scenario and the situation and your lot in life being to struggle, being hard, it was the hand that was dealt to you, not what you had created.
So at that moment too, what I would sort of like to talk about is if any of this resonates with you, and it's like, please use the tools that we give you, because right now it's like, who does it belong to? And it's like, is it yours? Are you trying to be your family, or are you actually creating your life and your reality with money? Because there's one very common scenario that I hear. Someone recently said to me that they've never, ever been surrounded by money except when they were around me and Brendan. It was Brendan's mum. And she was like, I've never had money. I've never been surrounded by people who've had money except now with you and Brendan. And she's like, it's a totally new reality for me. So how many people out there are trying to create the same reality as your family? And everything that is time to go do, and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So is there anything else that you can remember? Like I know someone was talking about, they would get these envelopes, these bills in the mail, and they would just literally shove them in a drawer and expect them to go away. Is there anything you distinctly remember where you created the energy of like avoiding or ignorant, or that it's always going to be perpetuating the debt?
Absolutely. My particular sort of spin on that or brand was that I was always traveling. I was a traveler. I was born in Canada in a small town, but left as soon as I could because you did unless you were pregnant, like my mother. And so I was always traveling and constantly reinventing myself and moving to the other side of the country for 4 years and then moving to Asia for a number of years and then moving here and there. And I never really had to establish myself anywhere or commit to building a life wherever I was. So, yeah, there would be lots of those envelopes arrive going, oh, well, we're going to cut this service, or, oh, you didn't do this. And it never struck me as impacting my life because I hadn't really committed to be there anyway. I just went, oh, well, like I remember famously once I used to go through car after dodgy car that was like all I could afford, and they would be, you know, the worst bombs you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And I remember one broke down, and I just sort of went, oh, and I reached into the cup holder to grab the change that was there, put it in my pocket, and I left it on the side of the road and just walked away. Because it was the whole thing. I wasn't really willing to commit to having the life where I took care of myself and I took care of those things, and I covered all those expenses and honored myself with not only covering the expenses, but having more for myself.
Yeah, having more. I think that's a key thing too, which is funny that you talk about that with the cars, because we've just been here in Denmark, Copenhagen, and getting an Uber every day. And we walked out of the apartment today, and I said to Christopher, because all the cars who are very little that you get, they're called Uber Pop, right? And they're very little cars. And, I was like, well, I'm so grateful for all the little cars, that we've sort of got into this week. And I started talking about when you get Ubers in Paris, there seems to be a greater array of cars. And I said, the Tesla that we got in was amazing. And it showed up? A Tesla this morning. Chris was like, oh, I haven't been in one. So by the time we get out of the car in the Tesla, he's like, okay, I think I want a new car. I think it's time for an upgrade. And it's like, so now, a Tesla in Australia, how much is it? Did you look it up?
I did look it up after we got out because I had the same thing. I was like, ooh. And in Australia, they're about 220,000 Australian dollars.
Okay. So then my question would be, where would that sort of thing have sat in your universe years ago? What would be your point of view? And then what is your point of view now?
Years ago, and not that many years ago, actually, it would have been, oh my God, don't even bother. But I would have done that with a $50,000 car.
Right.
So a $220,000 car would just be like ridiculous and absurd, and why you even don't even look at a car like that. Don't even walk next to it. Now it'd be like, okay, to create that for myself, it would take a little bit of negotiations and working around, and I'd need to see what I could get in terms of finance, but I could probably handle it.
So it becomes not an impossibility.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really want people to get. Everyone I know that has been in debt and then created themselves to have money, everything has a possibility to it. It doesn't mean that you go out and buy a Tesla tomorrow and put it on the credit card and then figure out, well, I don't know how that's going to get paid off. But it becomes a possibility, and you start to commit to your life, commit to your money flows, and then look at, what do I need to do to create that? It's like these action steps that you take. So we are about to head off to a break. Simone Milasas on Joy Business with Christopher Hughes, talking about getting out of debt joyfully. And we're going to be talking a little bit more to him about what are some of the tools that he used to get out of debt. We'll be back real soon. Don't go away, because we won't. Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Milasas, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know. I tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
So welcome back, everybody. You're with Joy Business, Simone Milasas. Now, this is pretty funny. You're going to probably end up seeing some of these shots. Let's wave. Because what we're doing is we're filming ourselves as we're on the radio show, okay? Because we want to use some of these outtakes and some promos for the upcoming book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. Now, Chris is sitting here. You'll see it if you look at the photos, etc., in a lovely, beautiful spotted, which is very funny because I've known Chris for a while and he likes everything to be striped. So how does it get any better than this? But he was just commenting and saying how much he loves the shirt and how good it feels, etc. And what else were you saying?
I was saying that yesterday I went to the shop and I bought 3 of these shirts. And they were about $500 each, which, again, previously in debt, that would have been like, whoa, what are you doing? But I bought all of them that were in my size. I would have bought more if they had them. And that was such a different point of view and paradigm. It was like, yeah, why not? Like that's one of the major things I've noticed with not being in debt is that there's this huge area in my life where I no longer function from a limitation.
Nice. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like what changed the paces? Like what demand did you have to make? What tools did you use to change that you no longer function from a limitation?
There was a few things. I mean, there's this tool in Access Consciousness that Gary Douglas introduced to me, and you were always, a big proponent of it as well, which was your 10% account, where for every dollar that comes into your life, you take 10% and you set it aside as an honoring of you. You never spend it. You don't use it on bills. You don't do whatever. But for me, that was tricky. Like, I could never rationalize to myself if I had that red envelope come saying, we're going to cut your electricity, that I wouldn't use my 10% for that. So what I did was I started to trick myself into having money. And my way of doing that is I would buy silver. Silver is a tradable commodity on the stock exchange. It has a spot price daily of where the market is for silver. It's currency. So I would buy these things with my 10% that were worth money, but you couldn't use it to pay a bill. I mean, you could take it in and get it exchanged for currency and whatever, and you might lose money, you might make money on the trade, but really inconvenient. And that little buffer between how long and the inconvenience it would take for me to liquidate the item to paying the bill always gave me enough time to go, oh, wait, no, actually I'd really like to have that in my life. And it was the cool thing for me too, because sometimes I would with my 10%, I'd buy a spoon for $40, and sometimes I'd buy a kilo of silver for, I think today it's at like 670 Australian dollars or something like that. And after a while, those smaller increments and larger increments really started to add up. And I remember applying for my mortgage a year or two ago and had no idea whether I would qualify for a mortgage or not, whether the bank would really want to lend me any money. And we went around the house adding up all the silver and gold and these sorts of things, and we had close to $150,000 just in silver.
Right.
And based on that, the bank was like, yeah, we'll lend you money. You're asset rich. And I went, oh, that's new. So that 10% was probably the biggest key thing for me, to tricking myself to having money. Because in my life, I was always great at creating it, not so good at having it.
Can you just really, if people have been listening to the Joy Business Show, they would have heard it previously. But can you just really briefly touch over what the 10% account is? And I also want you to mention, did you start it straight away, or what was your point of view about this tool?
I didn't start it straight away, to be totally honest. I'd been taking Access Consciousness classes for probably, total now, around 10 years. And
I've known you for that long, Mr. Christopher.
I've known you for about that long.
How did I get so lucky?
I know, it's really cool. The stories we could tell, but that's for a different rating show. I had major points of view about the 10% thing because I was like, whatever. Because as I say, a bill would come in and I would say to myself, there's no way it's going to create more for me to have this money in the bank if I've got this walking bill there that I don't know how to pay.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make logical sense. That's one thing I hear people say all the time.
Yeah. And you and Gary Douglas would always say, ask and you shall receive. Ask for the money to show up. Don't spend your 10%. That's an honoring of you. Ask for the money to show up. And I would constantly put myself behind the bill, make the bill more important, and pay it first. But when I started buying these financial instruments, as I call them, that were not immediately liquid, it was harder and harder. And I had this energy of wealth slowly start to creep into my life, where now I look around my house and I go, everything's super valuable. I mean, my husband and I, we were looking at this auction the other day of a lady's collection of things, paintings and jewelry and silver and furniture that she'd collected over her life, and they were auctioning it. And we looked at our stuff and we said, we're in our mid-30s and we have better stuff, like more valuable stuff. Not from a judgment, but it made us go, wow, we're really quickly amassing wealth. And it's not about saving, and it's not about the money. It's about a joy that it brings to us. And it really started with that 10% account. So to answer your question that you asked, it really is just that. For every dollar that comes into your life and that you earn, take 10% and put it aside as an honoring of you. If you want to buy gold and silver or things that you know won't lose money, great, go for it. Or if you're a little more disciplined than I was, just have it in an account set aside or in a sock drawer, wherever it is for you, where you have that money. You have the money. Because that was the hard part for me.
Now, if you're listening to this, I really want you guys to get this, that, Christopher tells these stories about walking away, taking the change out of the thing in the middle of the console of the car and walking away from the car because he always bought bombs because he couldn't afford anything else or didn't think he could afford anything else. And all of this stuff. And now you're looking at it, you're in your mid-30s, and you are creating wealth beyond what you ever thought possible.
Absolutely. Actually, it's really funny. I have to tell the rest of that story, walking away from that bomb, because it wasn't just the change in the console of the car that I took away with me. I took that, but also I was living on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland at the time, which was about 2 hours from Brisbane, which is where the car died. And I'd been in Brisbane, and I'd bought a Christmas present for Brendan, Simone's partner, and I took it and the change. It was a set of pots and pans because he was starting to really get into cooking. And I took the change and used it to get a train from Brisbane back to the Sunshine Coast. And I remember I had nothing. And I got to the Sunshine Coast. The train station even still was like 30, 45 minutes away from where I was living. And I went, I actually don't know how to get home. I had no money.
So this is funny, Chris, because when you told this story, I was picturing this was before I knew you. I was picturing this was like back in Saskatchewan, Canada sort of thing. And it's like, but this is not that long ago that you had these quote unquote, poverty-stricken days.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you actually did the math, it's probably about 4 years ago. So to go from 4 years to having that to now looking around my house and going, oh, not only do I own a house, I mean, yes, it's mortgaged, but we have a house and 2 cars and heaps of valuable antiques and, a box of unset gems around the house and a whole bunch of pile of silver and a bunch of gold, and it's a different world.
So let me ask you, what made you want to get out of debt?
It occurred to me at some point that with having debt and not allowing myself to have money, I was severely limiting what I could create in the world. The change that was possible for me to inspire in others. And I mean, it wasn't about having a nice car and a fancy house and a lifestyle. It was more about realizing what you can actually influence in the world and change if you have the resources to do it.
So was there anybody that it was like an inspiration for you to create that change?
You were a massive inspiration for me to create that change. As we've said, you've been my friend for 10 years.
Yeah.
The generosity that I've seen you be with people, not from a make them like me place or I'm better than you, I'll take care of you place or superiority, but from a kingdom of we kind of energy where it's all about everybody having and really contributing to everybody around and what they're trying to build. I don't want to use the word support because, but what I've seen you do is money for you has never been the chief motivation. Yeah, it's fun, but it's what you can do with it that is really inspiring. And I mean, I have a good relationship as well with Gary Douglas, and these are all people that don't function with money the way you're told you're supposed to in movies, in the media, in, the way this reality tells you you're supposed to be with money. I saw a different possibility with it and made me go, I want that. It's not about having big rings on my finger. It's about what I can create.
That's cool. Thank you so much. And the interesting thing, too, is with the inspiration with money, it's like, yeah, I know that money can change people's lives. And it's like, even when I didn't have money, even when I was in debt, I still function from that. And that's why I've written this book, because I do not think that anybody needs to have a money problem. And I know that's probably going to make people some cranky and frustrated and all of that sort of stuff. But if it is making you cranky and frustrated, what I would like to ask you is, it's like, how much are you truly willing to commit to your life? And it's like, how much are you willing to commit to your money flows? How much are you willing to commit to having a look at what your current point of view is and changing it? And it's like, no one's going to do that for you. You have to do that. But hopefully this book is going to give you those tools as well. So we're off to a break. We'll be back real soon. Love you. We hope you love us.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Host your show on OMFM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on OMFM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Would you like to be a part of creating a sustainable future on planet Earth? The El Lugar Foundation, created by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane Here, is a non-for-profit organization providing alternative ways of working with and preserving land for a sustainable future. To donate and learn more, go to www.crowdrise.com/El Lugar. What kind of earth would you like to see passed on to the next generation and beyond? www.crowdrise.com/El Lugar.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back, everybody. We're having way too much fun here in Denmark, Copenhagen. The thing that I've got a problem about is no one's packed my bags yet. We're leaving at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, and still no one's packed my bags. What magic needs to happen to have someone come and pack my bags, I tell you.
Now, Simone, I think that qualifies as a first world problem.
It does qualify as a first world problem. You are correct, Mr. Christopher. So let's continue on our discussion and our questions with Mr. Christopher Hughes, who was in debt, did create a whole lot of funk and weirdness around money, and has changed that. So one of my questions I'd like to ask too is, now that you actually have money, it's like, what would you say your point of view about money is now?
I mean, there's a few things that jump to mind immediately. Money's just fun. Money is just like, wow. When I say these things, I can sense people listening going, "Oh, it's so easy for you." Like, I remember once upon a time going to these yoga classes, and I've never been a massively flexible person physically, and I remember going up to my yoga teacher and saying, "I can't do this one move. I can't bend like that." She would say to me, "That's tension. You should let it go." And I would want to punch her in the face or strangle her with the latex she was wearing. But sorry for the mental imagery. But what money is now is, I realize it's really just a point of view that creates having it or not having it, or it's sort of like if you want a relationship and you haven't got one. Once you have one, you realize, oh, hang on, it's not the impossibility and the fantasy and the dream I made it out to be. Like, once you have money, that doesn't mean you never have to face any issues anymore, or never have any problems in your life, or
definitely not. No.
Yeah. In any case, your life gets bigger if you're willing for it to get bigger. I mean, the options, the possibilities, the doors that can open to you if you're willing can grow if that's your choice. And now I realize that money was never the answer. I mean, there's so many people out there that without money or that are in debt, and I know I was here too, going, oh, if only I had money and a partner, and you build this sort of list of fantasy things you'd like to have, as though they're the answer and they're going to complete and create your life. But that's not at all it. Money is just a fuel. It's just a tool to get you where you're going, is my appreciation of it now. And the less I have a point of view of it, and the more I make the creation of it just about fun, the easier it is.
Well, when you're saying that too, it's like the demand is what comes up for me in, when I used to travel and go to classes with Gary and Dane, and I was so grateful to go to these classes. It was so much fun. It was awesome. Yet I was traveling economy, and Australia's a long way from pretty much anywhere except New Zealand. I was traveling economy to all these places, and I was staying in people's houses, and I'm not really, which is funny, but I'm not really a great people person. And it's like, I really like to have my own space. And I had no space. I mean, I was sleeping on mattresses on the ground, with somebody else, 3 people in a bedroom, and then sharing a bathroom with 8 people. And I'm so grateful for the people's houses that I did get to stay at. And there was one house I stayed at, and the house was really grotty, especially the bathroom. And I'm in the bathroom and in the shower, and I'm in the shower thinking, I want to get out and have another shower. Like, I felt so dirty, and I was like, what am I doing? This is my life. And I'm creating this. I'm creating a place where I'm in a shower, I feel really grotty and dirty, and I want to get out, and I don't desire to, I want to have my own space tonight. Like, I don't want to be surrounded by people. So I made the demand that no matter what it took, no matter what it looked like, I would make more money, and I would make enough money that I could go and stay at hotel rooms. And I also had the point of view that I could go and stay at hotel rooms, and I could share a hotel room. So I started doing that. And then I was like, hang on, I don't even want to share. I really desire my own space. It's like, I want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and turn the light on and start working. I'd like to do that, not tiptoeing around, being aware of what the other person is doing. And then I was like, okay, I need to demand that I travel business class, because this economy thing is so not working for me. So but what I did was I worked out how I could increase the frequent flyer points on my card. It wasn't just like, now I will buy business class. I would buy economy, and I would put in for an upgrade. It's like, and every time you got it, you were like, yes. And it's like changed your life. When you're in business class, you're like, oh, you almost didn't want to go to sleep because you're like, I need to use everything. It's like take advantage of the business class seat. And it became more and more the energy of what I desired my life to be. And so I kept demanding more. It was like not settling for just that and not being grateful for it, but it's like, what if you always demanded more for your life, no matter what it is? Start with the baby steps. Like I was like, how do I get enough frequent flyer points to upgrade? It wasn't in my world to actually pay for it at the time. It was like, how do I get enough frequent flyer points to upgrade? So everything of that is time to go Z, and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, talk and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So what else would you say is the most changed about your point of view around money now? Like when you were saying that people were like, you know, that it's like now life is easier or different things, but other things show up. And it's like, does it feel way more available? It's like, does it flow from anywhere and everywhere? Or do you think it only comes from one place? And it's like, what's some of that energy that people could change? Or what's a tool, too, that maybe people can use to help them change their point of view about money?
Probably the best advice I could give or tool that I could give is, in actual fact, the problem never is money. It's never money itself that's creating the issue, that's creating the lack, the whatever drama it is that you're having in your life. There's plenty of it out there. It's like they, you know, I know one of your favorite movies and one of mine is Anti-Mame with Rosalind Russell. And you know, she says, you know, the universe is a banquet, but most poor suckers are out there starving to death.
Yeah.
It's there. There isn't actually a finite amount of money out there in the universe. And I work in an industry where most people are operating from scarcity. They have a point of view that the industry is dying. People don't desire what we have anymore.
Can you tell them what you're doing?
Yeah, I deal in antiques. I deal in antique furniture and jewelry, silver, paintings, Chinese art, African art, you name it. And when the opportunity first arrived on my doorstep, I went, oh my God, I can't think of anything more boring. And gosh, it's been anything but. But in that industry, I deal with so many different antique dealers across Australia in particular. And a lot of them are functioning from this incredible scarcity that there's not enough money. People aren't interested. It's getting too hard. Auction houses are taking away from the retailers and making it too difficult for them to get the prices they want. It really all is a point of view. So if you want a tool to change your point of view, your tool to help you change your situation, your point of view creates your reality. So ask yourself and have a good look. What is my point of view about money? What is your point of view about you with regard to money? Have a look at some of those things, start asking yourself, and run with it. There's a fabulous book in Access Consciousness called How to Become Money. I think it's like $30 unless it's changed. But it's a fabulous workbook where you get to ask yourself these questions, and you can totally 180 degrees change your financial situation just with that one small investment in that book. And why not? I mean, all that could do is help.
Well, you know, I heard at one point when someone had a problem with money, and Gary was like, have you done the How to Become Money workbook? No, I haven't done it. And he's like, why not? It's actually $35, okay? And she was like, well, I couldn't afford it. You can't afford $35 to change your reality around money? And it's like, this is a free call. So what point of view do you have around money that if you didn't have it would change your entire financial reality? And everything at that is time to go Z, and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and on, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So what point of view do you currently have around money that if you didn't have it around money would change your entire financial reality? And everything at that is we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. What point of view do you have around money that if you didn't have it would change your entire financial reality? And everything at that is time to go Z, and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. What point of view do you have around money that if you didn't have it would change your entire point of view, change your entire financial reality? And everything at that is time to go Z, and we destroy and uncreate it. right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So each time we run this clearing, it's like there's an energy that will show up. Sometimes you might actually have a word, you might have an answer, or it's just an energy. The thing is, what we're looking at doing is changing the energy, okay? Changing the energy is changing your point of view around whatever you are stuck in, whatever you've decided is a limitation, whatever you have concluded. So what point of view do you have around money that if you didn't have it would change your entire financial reality? And everything at that is time to God's zillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So we are going to be heading off to the next break soon. I would like to mention that there's some Joy Your Business classes in September in Denver, Colorado, from the 1st to the 3rd of September. You can come and do Joy Your Business 101, which is Business Done Different, and Joy Your Business 102, which is the Adventure of Business and Living. Now, it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd of September. You can come to Denver, Colorado. I'd love to meet you. Or you can also jump online and you can do live stream. So if you just go to accessjoyofbusiness.com/classes with Simone and check it out and see if you'd like to join us for that. So just a little advert there for you. And this is all the information that we're putting together too for the getting out of debt joyfully. What if you could get out of debt joyfully? What if you could change your entire situation with money joyfully? What if it didn't have to be hard? I mean, even use the Access mantra, all of life comes to me with ease, joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease, joy and glory. Because it's like, you know what, the good, the bad and the ugly that should be able to come to you with ease, joy and glory. So what if you having a money problem, a money situation, you could change it with ease, joy and glory? What if you were willing to have a totally different reality and just start with something small, okay? And like Chris was saying before, it's like, ask and you shall receive. And it's like, what if you were willing to ask for more to show up in your life? So we'll be coming back with Christopher Hughes. You're with Simone Milasas on Joy Business, and we'll give you a couple more tools on getting out of debt, and also it's sort of like, what can you do when you desire something but you don't have the cash to do it? What other possibilities are available? Don't leave us. We won't leave you. Bye-bye.
Would your business and life like to be bigger? Would you like to have more fun with everything you do? Simone Milasas travels the world facilitating Joy of Business seminars. These classes are for you if you would like to create more money and joy, expand your business, and work smarter, not harder. Join her live or watch the online seminar from the comfort of your own home. Go to www.accessjoyofbusiness.com to register and for more information.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, everybody. Told you we weren't going away. You're with Simone Milasas and Mr. Christopher Hughes. We're talking about getting out of debt joyfully. And you're on the Joy Business radio station OMTimes. So what I wanted to also ask you, Chris, was and actually this was sent in as a question from somebody, is when you'd like to do something or have something that you don't have enough cash for, what do you do? So what tools do you use to create it, or how do you approach that situation?
Good question. I like this question because no matter how much money you have or don't have, you can still always be asking and looking for more. So it isn't necessarily just about being in debt or not having enough. Like for me right now, buying that Tesla car that we talked about earlier for $220,000, let's use it as an example. That would require for me some juggling or some rearranging or some creation on my part to actually make that happen. So in terms of tools that I would use to do that, one of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever received around money and finances is get really clear on what it costs to run your life. Sit down with a pen and paper and write down, what are your outgoings? What are your expenses? Okay, so you have your rent, you have your phone bill, you have, I like to go out to drink. Not just the bare bones basics, but what do you really spend in your life? I did this once in a business when I first started there, and I asked the bookkeeper to bring me a copy of the profit and loss, and I sat down with her and I went through all of it and figured out exactly where all the money in the organization was going, and it created such amazing awareness for me about the financial situation of the company. So how clear are you about your own financial situation? I teach classes a lot on sales and marketing. I've been here in Copenhagen with you, Simone, doing one, and it's been such a great gift for me. But a piece of advice I gave in class as well was for people to get really clear on their businesses and their lives about where they are financially. In marketing, there's this old saying that says, 50% of my advertising budget is wasted. I'm just not sure which it is. And with people's finances, it's the same thing. It's surprising how many people are out there that have no idea how much money they actually make in a month and how much they're actually spending. So if I wanted to create the money to get there, establish a lay of the land and know where I'm at and what I would need to create to get there. It's not about building the steps A, B, C, and D sort of in a linear fashion like that, but know where I'm at now and what's my target. For me, having a target is so helpful. If I go, okay, in my business this month, I would like to do X, Y, and Z. Say I have some particular targets like open a second location is one of the things that I'm looking at for my business. I figure out what that would cost. And I ask for that to show up and then follow the energy that allows that to take place. Again, it's not about really linear steps of how I'm going to do it and how much I'm going to need to make and crack the whip in my store so that everyone meets the sales target. It's more about going, okay, now I have the awareness. Ask the question. What's it going to take to create that?
So getting really clear on what your finances are. Now, what I do with this too is I actually have an Excel spreadsheet, and everything that I earn, I write down each month, like each week or each day, whenever it is I earn money, whether it's from a teleco or a class or even money on the stock market. It's like, did I just sell shares? Did I just make money? I put that down there. Money working with the guild, I put that down there, and then I put the amount of money it is, and I also have a column to write down what the 10% is, and then I write yes next to it if I've transferred my 10%, so I know. So I know at the end of each month how much money I took in, where did I take it in from? Was it Access, Joy Business, or I have a column that says other, so it's like guild and stock, etc. And I know how much my 10% is. And the interesting thing is, it's not to make it significant. It's for interest sake. It's like, I'm really interested to see how much did Joy Business make this month. Mm-hmm. It's like, how much did I make on quote unquote other? Like, was that the thing that that created more cash flow for me this month than Access, or it's like vice versa. So it's like, it's just information. It's not to make it significant. It's for information. But I know how much I earn every single month. And like you said, Chris, it is totally amazing of how many people have no idea how much they are earning and also what their expenses are. If you get clear on your financial reality, which I actually have an ebook out too called Creating Your Own Financial Reality. In fact, you can find that, get that, download it. I think it's super cheap. It's even cheaper than the $35 of How to Become Money workbook. And it talks about the tools on creating your own financial reality, but getting clear on it. What if you even made the demand today and you went, okay, from now on, not tomorrow, not mañana, not domani, and say you get clear on what is your financial reality. And say you need to get clear on this, on what are your expenses and what's your income. And it's not about judging you. It's not about going to the wrongness. It's not about finding fault or thinking that you're less than. It's about clarity. What if you're willing to have the clarity on your financial reality?
Mm-hmm.
Christopher, can you tell me also a little bit more about where people can find you and what you are doing? Because I know you do some amazing classes called Elegance of Living.
Yes, I do. You can find me in a number of different ways.
In a bar on a Saturday night? No.
In a bar on a Saturday night. No, these days for a Saturday night, I tend to be at home. You can find me in my living room. But also, I do facilitate a group of classes called The Elegance of Living, all about teaching you about different aspects of wealth and living with what I like to call the trappings of money. Though trapping seems a loaded word, I think it's still a bit fun. But, learning more about antiques and art and how they can add to your life, but also add to your wealth. My partner and I, we started this because we took the change from our change jar at home, and we had $500, and we went to auctions and bought a bunch of stuff and started selling it, and quickly took the change in that jar and turned 500 into 3,000 and 3,000 into 9,000, and all about just a little microeconomy that we started that's now grown into something huge. So I teach about that in The Elegance of Living. And also I teach on sales and marketing, or facilitate rather than teach, actually, with The Joy of Business. And I have a website, theeleganceofliving.com, and also theantiqueguild.com.au if you'd like to reach me and ask me any questions.
Right. Or book a private session. Find out what it would take to make more money for you. So, Christopher, we have probably about 4 more minutes to go. So is there any other tool or question or anything like that that you'd like to offer the listeners that they could walk away with and start to change their financial reality today?
Okay, so for so many people, I think the issue is, if you're anything like me, there's something about money or knowing about money that you're avoiding. For me, that's what it was. And if that resonates with you at all, I would start asking yourself, what is it about money that I'm avoiding? Or what is it about knowing about money that I'm avoiding? Because everywhere that I had my head in the sand and was doing a great ostrich impersonation was where I was limiting my life around money. So that's a question that I would start asking myself. What about this am I avoiding? Every time I've heard, or every time it used to be when I was in debt, I would hear friends of mine like Simone and my friend even Patricia Bowman, who you may have heard on the show in the past, they would say the same thing, and I would get so angry. They would say, it's so much harder to not make money than it is to make money. And it occurred to me, so am I if I'm making it harder, obviously I'm avoiding just what is laid out there in front of me on a plate. So what is it about having and earning money that you're avoiding? Ask yourself. It's not about you're right or you're wrong, but just ask yourself. Where you are now is not wrong.
And everything is that is comes to God's and we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pop and pot all nine, shorts, boys and beyond. I really like that too, because you have to get out of you are not wrong. 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 And you have never been wrong, okay? Please get that. And it's like, this is just something in your life that you can change. And it's like your finance, your money situation doesn't have to look like it did. It can change. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. It's like you can be 80, 90, 100, 105, you can be 12, you can be 15, and you can still be creating money. Like, I love that story of you taking the money in the jar and actually going out there and buying stuff and then reselling it. It's like, what could you do and what could you be to create more money that you haven't been willing to acknowledge? And everything that is, time to go be and we destroy and uncreate it. Writing on good and bad, talk on pot all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. I don't know why my thumbprint doesn't work on your phone, so you need to change that. How does it get any better than this? So don't forget to check out accessjoybusiness.com, and you can check out a whole lot of Joy Business facilitators on there as well. I'm sure there's one in your area, and they all do lots of classes on business and money as well. You can go to accessconsciousness.tv is another site, and search 7 Easy Ways to Make Money with Simone Milasas, Milasas, and you'll find a free class, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a free class that I did live stream from Noosa, Australia, called 7 Easy Ways to Make Money. Okay? So go to accessconsciousness.tv, search classes with Joy Business, Simone Milasas, Milasas, 7 Easy Ways to Make Money. And I give you a whole bunch of tools there that you can actually start to change your reality with money. Because like I said, it doesn't have to be a problem. Who's making it a problem? You're the one that's making it a problem. What have you been unwilling to receive that if you were willing to receive it, would change everything? And everything that is, times it goes in when you destroy and uncreate it. Writing on good and bad, pop and pot all nine, shorts, boys and beyond. So Mr. Christopher Hughes, I'm so grateful for you coming on here today in Denmark, Copenhagen, and I look forward to having fun with you in Europe, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, the questions you're asking have been such a gift.